See, we humans are creatures of habit, and we tend to see what we expect to see. This is known as the Perceptual Set Theory. Although the theory doesn't have a single credited creator, the concept is most strongly associated with psychologist Dr. Jerome Bruner, who extensively researched and developed the theory, highlighting how expectations and prior experiences drastically influences our perception of stimuli. Or in other words, it describes how people's expectations and their past experiences influences how they perceive things. This is why at times when things seem to never go our way, when it finally does, our mood changes from flat out expecting the worst to feeling a bit suspicious at the least. Because you see, our brains feel like this is too good to be true. Lois has created two separate mental categories here, one for Clark Kent and the other for Superman, and her brain automatically filters information to fit these preconceived notions. And so when Clark reveals his secret identity, it didn't just challenge her perception of him, it challenged her entire worldview. So just for a quick sec, let's talk about a fascinating concept called change blindness. The study began in the 1970s as a part of the eye movement research. In perhaps the most famous example, participants failed to notice the man who was in a gorilla costume walking through the middle of a scene when attention was focused on people passing a basketball. This is our inability to notice changes in our environment, especially when they happen gradually or when we're not even explicitly looking for them. Lois has seen Clark every day for years, and Superman, well, occasionally. Her brain has become so used to seeing both Clark and Superman as separate entities that it literally struggles to process the idea that maybe they could also be the same person. But here's where it gets really interesting. Lois's disbelief might actually be a form of self-protection.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Psychologists call this motivated reasoning, the tendency to find reasons to believe what we want to believe. The motivated reasoning theory was primarily coined and developed by Dr. Ziva Kunda in 1990. Her influential 1990 paper titled The Case of Motivated Reasoning outlined the concept of how people's motivations can bias their cognitive processes when evaluating information, leading to biased reasoning to reach desired conclusions. Oh, and by the way, as I was doing my research for this theory, I googled Dr. Ziva's name as Ziva Kunda, and Google Translate randomly popped up, and her name is literally translated from Shona to English as know how to win. I just thought that was pretty cool and kind of funny. And so, if Clark is Superman, it means Lois has been fooled for years. It means she's missed something that, in hindsight, seems rather obvious. But there's another layer to this psychological onion that we need to peel back. The fundamental attribution error. This is our tendency to attribute others' behaviors to their personality rather than external factors. While the concept itself is rooted in Fritz Heider's attribution theory, Ross is credited with formally defining and popularizing the term in his research. Now let's consider the concept of cognitive load. Hey, stop snickering back there, I can hear you, you know. Cognitive load was developed by educational psychologist John Sweller. The theory suggests that working memory has a limited capacity and can only hold a small amount of information at one time. And for Lois, well, she's a busy reporter, constantly juggling multiple stories and deadlines for her work. Her brain is already working overtime, leaving little capacity for reassessing long-held beliefs. It's easier for her to be overworked and her overworked mind to dismiss Clark's revelation than completely reconstruct her own understanding of reality. This explains why in the movie titled Superman Braniac Attacks that takes place in a parallel universe similar to the original DCAU, when Lois is devastatingly ill, before Superman can even finish getting the words out of his mouth, she guesses it, nails it right on the head on the first try. This is because now her mind is clear of any work distractions. All of these psychological factors combine to create a perfect storm of disbelief. It's not that Lois is being willfully ignorant or particularly dense even. Her reaction is a testament to the power of the human mind to maintain its established worldview. You see, fellow theorists, the reason why Lois reacts the way she does is because of good old psychology. And, I mean, besides the ones that we've already gone through here today, you have things like confirmation bias, memory bias, interpretation bias, and selective attention. But it's that last one that we're going to dive a bit deeper into today. The selective attention model was first proposed by Dr. Donald Broadbent, a UK experimental psychologist in the 1950s. His filter theory suggests that the human attentional system has a limited capacity and uses a filter to process information. His theory was later refined by Dr. Anne Treisman with her attenuation model in the 1960s. Dr. Treisman proposed that unattended sensory inputs are not eliminated, but rather attenuated. See how I made that rhyme there? But seriously though, they can also be processed at a decreased intensity, or in layman's terms, we don't ignore sensory inputs that we aren't paying attention to. Instead, we pay less attention to them. So when your coworker who's known to be a bit of a klutz comes out and reveals to you that he's really Superman, you'll more than likely get a reaction like this.
You out of the byline.
You're a sick man, Kent.
You asked.
But hey, that's just a theory, a Superman, and human psychological theory. Thanks for watching.